Alright, oh god. I just came back from seeing Everything Everywhere, right? Is that what it's called? I don't know. You know that one, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that movie. Um, I, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting. I seriously was not expecting to cry watching that movie. Like, and not even just like a, oh, but like I sat there and I was like, oh god, the top part of my mask was like wet. I was just like, ugh. I went with my mom too, so I was just like, hold it together. If I was like by myself, I don't care. I would just like let her rip, put the napkins here, that kind of stuff. But I was like with my mom, so I had to like sit and do one of these like put the napkin here. Totally not crying. Just person behind me I think was bawling because because during those moments, and I'm just like, and I'm not a crier, so I was just like, what is this feeling? The person behind me, I just hear, I just like kept hearing that, and I was like, oh, someone's going through it. Somebody's going through it. I also feel like this is like kind of like the perfect shirt to have worn to this movie. So obviously, before I go into spoilers, like, this movie is wackadoodle, and I love weird wackadoodle movies that kind of don't make sense, but sure, why not kind of things. Initially, like, when the weird stuff was happening, I was like, oh, is this, like, this year's, like, Malignant, because a lot of people came out of this movie semi the same as Malignant, where they're like, I don't know what the hell I just watched, but I loved it, that kind of shit. But this movie had more of a message and not just, James Wan going, like, fuck it. I mean, there was a case of the fuck it's in this movie, but, like, not it's not the same way. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I really liked it. I loved how weird it was, how it just said literally fuck it. That's the case of the fuck it's, where it just said fuck it, let's just make it weird, all that stuff. But then, like, in the midst of the weirdness, like, tie in, like good messaging, you know what I mean? And there was one part where I was like, oh, yeah, it's about, whoa. It was just like, I was like mad. I was like, positivity. It's like, bitch, okay, calm down, okay? Yeah, so, like again, like, yeah, all amidst all the weirdness, there was like positive messaging and all that stuff, and about family. I mean, better than what Vin Diesel says about family, but you get what I mean. Like, it's like, oh, all that stuff. Yeah, so I was just like, like, when it was like giving the messaging, I was like, oh, this is the point of the movie. Because again, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go into it seeing Michelle Yeoh play like a dopey, kind of like aging lady who's kind of like miserable and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden she's fucking back to her Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon character, and it's like, sure, why not? Fuck it, I'll watch Michelle Yeoh as anything because she's fucking awesome. And I feel like, in all honesty, I don't know who they could have gotten as a lead, if it wasn't her. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause like she's really good, and like the fact that she like kind of like got emotional during an interview about how like this movie, like she was so glad to get this movie because she was able to like have there is such range in this movie. And I'm also kind of like, yeah, you're right, because she's usually always playing like the stone cold bitch kind of characters. Like, again, it's either the Crouching Tiger shit where she's just like martial arts lady, and you're like, okay. Even like her 2 seconds that she was in freaking words in Shang-Chi, I was like, what's that Marvel thing that also has Asian people? Yeah. Jesus Christ. But, and then, like, oh my god, in Crazy Rich Asians, where she was the mom, which, again, perfect casting. When I saw that she was gonna play, like, the mom, and I didn't even know what the story was about, I'm like, I don't give a shit, the bitch, parentheses, lovingly, is in this movie, so I'm like, I'm all for this. Sorry, I'm looking at my lighting, and I'm like, god damn, I have to get the crazy glue. Anyway, yeah, so for here, where you see her character, you see in the trailer too, that's not spoilers, like, you see her character, like, be sad and, is like kind of like teary-eyed and, just again be a full-rounded person more than what she usually is in her other films. I'm like, fuck it, but yeah, again, like there's not everyone who wants to like talk about this movie is usually like, yeah, the fight scenes were great. I mean, they were, and everyone did very well in them, and they were awesome, and the weirdness was very weird, and and yeah, there was nothing that like blah, 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 like I liked it, like I said, I liked it. I just didn't expect to cry watching this movie again as someone who doesn't really do that thing, that emotion, because I'm usually just like, like, I'm usually that, just I'm that all the time, so the, like like being feeling like that, like in the movie theater, I'm just like, what is going on? Anyway, I'm gonna go into spoilers. 1, 2, 3 spoilers. So, so this movie, like simply put, is just like a family just trying to like pay their like get their taxes right, and it's funny that like I'm watching this on 420 um and right after tax day and all that stuff, because there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that you'd be like, yeah, you would have to be on like a substance to have thought of this idea, or me, or be mentally severely ill like me and be like, well, that seems normal, put that in a movie. But anyway, yeah, so they're trying to do their taxes, all that stuff, her, like, Michelle Yeoh's character, she's going through it, like, so much stuff with the business and all that stuff, like, because they have, like, a laundromat, very Asian, her husband, like, is always trying to be, like, the positivity monster, like, I don't want to say monster, but, like, he's the super positive guy, and immediately in the beginning, like, even before they showed the paper, I was like, oh, he's gonna want a divorce, because as someone who watched Twister one too many times as a young child, whenever there is a thick packet of paper with like the arrow pointy post-its on it, divorce papers, and I was like, oh shit, and she's busy doing her thing, and then the daughter wants, like, okay, the mom accepts the daughter but isn't like fully accepting, that the daughter, is dating girls, because like the family has accepted the daughter, well, yes, and the family has accepted the girlfriend because she's over like having dinner with them, and the mom's like, oh hey, it's you, that kind of stuff. But like grandpa's coming over, and then like gay stuff, older generations, they're like, that doesn't exist, you know what I mean? And if any of that, yeah, that, like, again, very Asian, very like, no, that kind of stuff. And I suddenly forgot what I was talking about. Like, oh, I was like, what's the next thing I was going? Okay, so because of all that, and then they meet Jamie Lee Curtis, who they did a great job making her look like, I guess, probably what she would look like if she didn't take care of herself, because Jamie Lee Curtis is obviously, she's not young anymore. She's technically old, but like not in a, mean sense, but yeah, she didn't like take care of herself, and she didn't have her like Sarah Connor, the arc, with Halloween Kills and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, so her just looking like frumpy old lady who works at the IRS, which, God, when I was on unemployment, I had to deal with a lot of those people. They're like, someone as young as you, a lot of that happening. So she played that role really well as a condescending government employer. Jesus. But anyway, their family trying to do shit, and then that's when it becomes like the Matrix 4 movie that we should have gotten kind of thing, where it's like, hey, you boring person living your boring life, hey, what'd be great is if something, like it's one of those movies, boring person, and then something happens to shake your life up kind of thing and make you rethink, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. But obviously this is done, obviously better, more enjoyable and all that stuff. Bless me. And it was, very wackadoodle, so it was definitely my thing. So yeah, so once, like, they established the whole thing of, obviously there's a multiverse, and then there's the universe, say, like, universe hopping, but it's, like, into, like, different yous throughout the multiverse kind of stuff, and you have to like just you have to do weird things that you normally wouldn't do, or and then that would trigger the pathway on the map to that you who knows the thing, so it's like, so in the sense of the Matrix, it's like, give me, instructions on how to fly the helicopter, and it's like, now I know how to, this is more like, okay, I need, to know how to, like fight, and then I would just like take my pain cream and then like eat it or something, you know what I mean? Then it's like boom, and then your Bluetooth headset glows green, and you hit it, and then you're like, and all of a sudden you're like, you do the thing that you want to achieve, And it was great because of it being weird, because there was like that scene where everyone's doing like some kind of, like, some dude is like dry humping an ottoman, you know what I mean? Someone else is like licking, like a column, stuff that like you like, And it was just like, the like lunch lady was just like singing opera. She had like the spoons and stuff in her hand, and it like that made it for like good comedy and good like, all right, sure, and that worked fine, so like the whole movie is a lot of that happening, but then the whole like the messaging kind of shit is pretty much like I don't, it's not love your family, because that's so simple. It's more of just like, like accepting your family and kind of like letting, like, because she's the mom, so like letting your daughter kind of like do you boo kind of stuff, because she's still an Asian mom, and towards like the end of the movie, I like as like the tears are just soaking the top, fifth of my mask. I immediately thought to myself, Jesus Christ, this year we're like, we're not even like in May. We're not even halfway through the year, and we've like hit the quota of like Asian parental guilt, with Turning Red and with this movie. It's like, for me, it's like good. It's like, Mom and Dad, you know what you put me through? Feel bad. Look at all this. I mean, believe me, look at all this. I mean, my parents know well enough. This is their child that they have. My mom every day is like, oh, that's my kid. My kid makes fetuses and sells it on the internet. Hey, guess who went to art school? You know what I mean? It's like my mom knows. Like, it's like this is it. Like I said, I took her to this movie, and so like the love thing, like in the end where she's like fighting all that stuff, and the husband is like, no more fighting, da da da. And so then instead of like, her, I guess you would say angry fighting or revengeful fighting, it was like, she's like, well, I'm gonna be you, like the husband, like positive fighting, that kind of stuff. Like, fight them where like whatever your enemy, like give them what they need, so like the one dude had like a weird like neck back problem, and she just like cracked it, and he's like, oh fuck, thank you. Fight them with love. I bring you love. It's bringing peace and love. Kill it. So it was like, it felt like a little hokey to me, because whenever anything like that where they're like love, I'm just like, ugh. But like, you're already so in it that you're like, sure. It's kind of like the first Wonder Woman movie where like at the end, where she's fighting that fucker, and then she's like, but I believe in love. I believe in love. Sorry. And by then you're like, like the movie's about to end and you're already with these characters. You're like, fucking love, You're like, yeah, and oh my god, everyone needs love. Everyone needs like care, yeah. So again, it's a weird movie, and the messaging behind it, like, and like, you're like, where we're going with, oh, and like once you like establish like, oh, that whole thing, it's like, oh, it's like, oh, right. It's pretty much that emotional roller coaster I went through, watching this movie. And again, it's great, like, what's his name, who plays the dad, is he was in the Goonies, and he was in Indiana Jones and all that stuff. Like, I heard that he like came out of retirement, and that's like his first movie back. Like, cause I think he like the what was the article? It was like he saw Crazy Rich Asians, saw that obviously because the potential of Asians in cinema finally. Jesus Christ! I mean, he was like the Asian dude. In the late '80s, early '90s, he was the guy. He was like, because he saw that, and he's like, oh, I gotta get back into acting, my people, all that stuff, which is totally makes sense. And then the grandpa, what's his name? I think, no, he hasn't gotten an honorary Oscar. No, they've been trying to petition for him to get an honorary Oscar, but he was like the dad in like the Wayne's World movie and all that stuff, and he was great. I mean, he's always great. It's also great, like, how many times am I gonna say the word great? But it's also great that his character, he, like, everyone was able to, like, be the funny one. It was great that, like, he wasn't the comic relief, because he's always, like, in all these movies, like, again, like, Wayne's World, or, oh God, what's that movie thing, Balls of Fury? He's always, like, the comic relief Asian guy, like, just, like, well, one, he would be that guy, the one Asian, and then he would be the comic relief one of just being like, I'm so Asian, like, I mean, it's one of those things where back in the day it was like, haha, now it's like, alright, let's not do that anymore, God, like, some days I'll look on my movie list, and then I'll watch something from, like, the anything from early 2000s to, like, 2013, and people are just throwing slurs and just things, and I'm just like, God, remember we used to just like watch this and just like, all right, God, and people go, oh man, we used to just say it, yeah, we used to really just say it, guys. Anyway, but yeah, it was good that like everyone got to be the funny guy, again, the fact that he wasn't, again, that guy, as always. But yeah, oh my God, the costuming, or really the wardrobe that, like, they had the daughter wear, like, some of it was like, okay, I see where you're going, this is, like, random, kind of, whatever you would say, pop star kind of look, and then some of it was like, there was the one outfit where she was, like, in black, and I was like, well, I need that. The all-white one with the big ruffle collars, and I was just like, I need that, in black and white, maybe red, I was just like, okay, fuck it, again, fuck it. Like, the case of the fuck it's with this movie is a good case of it, because they said, fuck it, let's go weird with hair and makeup for this girl, with her outfits, sets, reasonings, grown-ass men shoving things up their asses, like, to trigger their, like, boop boop, all that stuff. Have their, like, the IRS award be, like, a fucking, butt plug, sure, have the daughter have two fucking, they were, like big-ass, long-ass dildos. What? Sure! Do it! Fuck it. But yeah, that was Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I mean, that's pretty much what that basically describes the movie, because that is like, blah, blah, blah. And it's also like your emotions watching the movie, because it's like, like I said, I enjoyed it. Really didn't expect to have cried